LightsThunderAction will be on in just a moment. Don't forget to share. Comment. How was your day? Welcome to
LTA with
TCR
and JRB.
This is where the fun begins.
You're just not thinking fourth dimensional.
Flourish. Peter 03.
Num num.
I'm vengeance.
What?
Did we just become best friends?
Yup.
I love you guys.
Hold on to your butts.
If we find out you have personalized license plates, you die.
Dude, I almost had you.
To that I say, all right, all right, all right.
Good
Awesome
evening
start.
and happy Memorial Day. It's May 30th, 2022, and it is time for your end of the holiday weekend. Pick me up, where two Thunder Buddies dive into all things Marvel, DC, and the latest happenings in pop culture, IP, and film industry. We got there. JRB.
What's going on, Thomas? It's good to be back after a little bit of a hiatus here, coming off MegaCon. But yeah, it's great to be back. On tonight's show, Thomas and I are joined by a very, very special guest. Ethan Simmie of 15 Minutes of Marvel will be joining us to talk Thor Love and Thunder's latest trailer. And we'll see our reaction to that here shortly. And we'll also be getting hyped for season 3 of The Boys. Ethan was so courageous and trekked all the way through the first 2 seasons of The Boys in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Just so he could sit down and talk shop with us about the upcoming 3rd season. And I think we got to bring him in. We'll do that here in just a second. Thomas, before we bring
first the boring stuff.
All the boring stuff.
All the boring stuff.
Before we get to Ethan Simmie of 15 Minutes of Marvel, where can everybody find us so they can follow along?
We are live beaming directly into your homes and phones via our LightsThunderAction Facebook and the HWWS WebTV channel over on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Scratch the Twitch, actually. They just dropped it. Boom. Ka-chow. RIP Twitch. All of those links can be found at Linktr.ee/LightsThunderAction. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow to view the live version of our show where you can interact with us. It's pretty fun. But if you don't want to look at our beautiful beards, but you love to hear our beautiful voices,
you can find our beautiful voices on Apple Podcasts, Good Pod, and Spotify. Follow and subscribe on those platforms. Leave us a 5-star review and ask us a question in that review, and we'll bring it right on the show right here and answer it for you. Thomas, it's been a little bit, man. We got some catching up to do. How are you, man?
Before we get the catching up to do, you want to just bring him in? Might as well. We'll go a tree-way. We'll go a tree-way catch-up situation. So introducing none other than the 15-minute man of Marvel, Ethan Simmie.
There he is. How you doing, man?
Thank you. I am so stoked to be here right now, and I don't know if you can tell my voice is kind of in flux. I'm coming off of being sick, but boy, am I committed, and I am hyped to talk to you guys.
Awesome. It's great to have you, man. And thank you so much for making the time. This will be a little bit longer than the normal 15-20-minute journey that you take on the podcast, but we got a lot to talk about. And the first thing is 100% up your alley. The Thor Love and Thunder latest trailer. We've already heard your reaction to it. Thomas,
jumping in.
Yeah, why don't you lead us into our first talking point
I was gonna say, like, how was your day? Come on,
No,
you
no
just
time for
dove right in.
and Thor is here, man.
Man,
first,
there's
man. We got to get into the
God.
nitty gritty. We got a lot to talk about tonight.
no
Yeah.
foreplay. That's okay with me, man. We're talking Thor Love and Thunder trailer, and you know goddamn good and well that's my speciality.
That was really good.
That was awesome.
Thank you. Shout
Very
out
nice.
Chris Farley. Thor Love and Thunder hype train is here. It is live. It is never going away as long as I'm still alive. And I guess maybe after the movie comes out, we'll see. But there is so much in this trailer. We dove into it just a little bit last week in our our edited reaction video. Yeah, we get more Jane Foster. We get gold suit Thor. We get the helmets. Turns out they're CGI. Whatever. We get Gore the God Butcher looking like a scary demon. Also Christian Bale all at the same time. So if you've ever seen The Machinist, same but different. And then we get Thor's super fucking shredded body that's super jealous of me. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, oh man, I gotta go work out now. But he's got a low-key back tattoo. There's so much hidden away here in this here trailer. JRB, what caught your eye? What colorful thing caught your eye?
The most colorful thing that caught my eye was Thor's colorful suit. I'm still having not a hard time, just there's so much that they're introducing in this movie that we're just kind of accepting and we don't have an answer for yet, like Thor's new colorful garbs, or the fact that Jane is taken over with Mjolnir, or that Mjolnir's even put back together. So yeah, there's a lot going on that I wish we had answers to. I know we'll get answers to, but are like just right in our faces in the marketing, and we're just kind of like, are you going to tell us what's going on, or are we really just waiting until we get to this movie? And it seems like that's what's happening. But yeah, Thor's new suit. It's not that I'm not a fan. I just want to know what's going on, because if it has the right story, I could really like it. But this trailer highlighted that again, especially with the helmet. Now that the helmet's CGI, it makes me question, what purpose is it going to serve? Is it just going to be more in like the action shots, or is it going to have some more significance than that, or is it just for protection? So Thor's updated look is kind of the thing that sticks out to me the most.
Okay. Can I speculate for you?
Yes, that's what I'm here for, man.
Okay.
I want to hear it.
So the suit, right? It's all a ploy to look good for Jane.
He's peacocking.
He's peacocking. He really is. He really is. He's just like, haha, the red, the gold, the blue, the black, the dark gray. I'm basically Thor Batman.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's peacocking. You know what I'm saying? Ethan, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I like that theory a lot. And I did a live reaction on my podcast, 15 Minutes Marvel. As soon as the trailer dropped, I was here in the Mini Marvel studio, watching it, recording at the same time, an absolute blast. I think the one thing for me that I really am very intrigued about for this trailer is Gore the God Butcher, and more specifically, how he seems to desaturate everything that is around him. I think the color play is going to be a huge mark here. And we know from Taika, we know from Ragnarok that this is a huge thing that Taika loves to mess around with. And seeing Gore in one single scene with a colorful background and everything else in a black and white kind of like offset background is really interesting. And he is fighting Valkyrie at one point, and part of her body is desaturated while the other is not. So I am very curious to see what this looks like. Is that how he like sucks the soul from people? Is that how he takes gods down? Is that just more of like kind of a thematic play of like colors versus non-colors of, like power and on both sides of the spectrum? I think it's very interesting, and I love the way Gore the God Butcher looks, but I also have no attachment to the comics or anything like that. So I had no expectations, and I was very satisfied. I find that when I have no expectations, I'm a pretty happy camper.
Yeah. Now, I particularly enjoyed hearing your thoughts on Gore in your initial reaction, because I think you're in the same boat as most of us, is we don't have that attachment to him and his comic background that we do with a lot of these other characters they've been introducing lately. So there's a lot of wiggle room for, different interpretations or taking creative liberties with this character that is really going to play well for Christian Bale, who's definitely one of the more well-known method actors who can bring that extra element to the table if he's given that, room to work in. But yeah, the Gore the God Butcher is someone we have no frame of reference of, and even his time in the comics, a lot of what we know, he's not in that. So there's so much room to work with this. And Thomas is looking at me. Your comic knowledge, Thor specifically, is way better than ours. So why don't you tell us?
I was just confused by that sentence. I was like, wait.
Why don't you tell us where do
man?
you expect Gore to be coming from? Based on this trailer, Thomas, what do you think Gore, how is he going to fit into the MCU naturally here? What's his end going to be?
His end? Or his in?
His in.
His in is going to probably be exactly like it is in the comics, would be my guess. In that his gods did not come down and save everyone, and his whole family died in a drought, including his pregnant wife. And he makes a vow to kill all gods and starts killing his gods, and then finds the Necro Sword, I believe is what it's called, or the All Black. It gets called a bunch of different stuff. I can't remember which one. I think it's the All Black. That Null ends up, you find out Null's created, and so it's a half symbiotic thing. Hence the tendrils when Gore shows up. But I think that once he finds the All Black, he just starts killing gods at a faster rate. And my guess is something to do with the Celestial started something. Maybe it was Thanos snapped, and he looks at Thanos as a god, so all gods must die. It could be a lot of different wrinkles on it, but something to do with that, losing the family, deciding to kill all gods, and then from there, not sure where his story is going to go, if he survives, if he loses half of his face somewhere along the way. But I have no qualms in him looking different because it's Christian Bale, so I'm going to get a good performance.
Right. Ethan, what do you have to add on to that?
Yeah, I just want to ask you guys a question, because as we're talking about this, I'm thinking about more things, and I every single time I get the chance to talk about these things with people, like new stuff kind of comes to light. So when it comes to Gore the God Butcher, I think I also maybe mentioned on my podcast, I'm not sure, I like the humanization factor of like seeing Christian Bale's face and giving us a reason to feel sympathetic to this god murderer, essentially. And I want to know from your guys' point of view, because I am not so sure where I stand. For Gore the God Butcher, Thomas, you mentioned he kind of goes off the rails and essentially seeks vengeance, right? Like, he was not rescued, so he seeks out retribution and goes on a killing spree for all these gods. Is a storyline like that at the phase that we are in the MCU, can something like that stand for Gore the God Butcher? Can he be a villain strictly bent on retribution and vengeance? Thanos was slightly, but he had a plan, right? Like, that's what he wanted. It was not strictly vengeance based. Can Gore be a villain that is 100% vengeance based and just gives no shits about anybody whatsoever? Or do we need a more rounded, well-completed backstory for him to understand he does have an end goal? There is a Celestial he's trying to get to. There is a very specific mark that he is fighting towards. It's not just vengeance for vengeance sake. It has something to do with something else. Because I don't know. I'm just trying to think through this.
I think it'll start out vengeance like it always does, but along the way, whenever he gets corrupted by whatever he gets corrupted by, it's going to feed on him in the same way that, I'll say it, Venom feeds off of Peter Parker, and a little bit of and feeds off Tom Hardy, Eddie Brock at the same time. Like, he feeds on him when he's not feasting already. Before we continue, shout out to everyone in the comments. Terry McIver, he says, we're not worthy. We're not worthy. I agree. We should all not feel worthy of Thor. Shannon Williams is hanging out with us. He said, "Sup, fellas," and then when he was very excited about peacocking, he liked that. David Thompson also in the house. He says, "Ethan is in the house. LFG.
David?
What are your thoughts on the Thor trailer? If you are here watching, just drop it here in the comments. We gotta talk about some of the Easter eggs here. We talked about Thor's back tat. Obviously, sad boy is gonna get tats. It's what people, it's what we do. And then the Watcher statue. Do we think we'll see the Watcher? Is the Watcher already dead? Did Gore kill the Watcher? Oh shit! I'm speculating live.
Is that not a hallway of shrines to dead gods?
I don't know.
It's
one
weird.
looks like death. One looks like the Living Tribunal, which may or may not be alive in the same universe. Then there's a Watcher. Eon, maybe, I think is the name, which is like a weird looking god. And I think there in the back, if I remember right, is Eternity. I think it's supposed to be Eternity.
Okay. I didn't know that one. It looks like they were wearing like a Magneto helmet or something. Or like like something from the Nova Corps. But yeah, the Watcher being on here is pretty crazy. Do you think that we'll see him pop up in this movie specifically? Or do you think this is just a fun Easter egg now that we know in universe who this guy is?
Well, I mean, we might have seen his skeleton earlier in the trailer, if you ask me. When he's in there doing the chains, going from dad bod to god bod. He's doing battle ropes with big chains, and it's a big, weirdly shaped skeleton. And if you skull and skeleton, it's definitely sized right. But if you look at, I want to say somewhere around Original Sin, there's a dead Watcher, and it's like this. It's been long enough that the skin is like around the skeleton, and it looks the same. So it's like, perhaps there is no Watcher of this universe because it has been murdered.
Huh?
Shocking.
I don't really have any speculation of any cameos of that sort when it comes to like the Watcher or something else that we might have gotten in animation or like somewhere else. I have a feeling that when you're coming off of Multiverse of Madness, you want to stay a bit more contained. Like I have a feeling that if you're going back to back to back with huge multiversal stories, you're going to lose a lot of interest from a lot of people, even people that have been with the MCU for quite some time. And Thor strikes me as the ultimate summer blockbuster. They've got Taika, they've got Chris, they've got the Guardians of the Galaxy. They have all of these major movie stars, and I don't think they're looking to thread in anything like the Watcher, because when we do get the Watcher in live action, that's big. I feel like that's a big deal for our universe, and it seems bigger than this story of what we are going to tell now. Maybe it's just something to kick the can down the road a couple more movies and be like, oh yeah, remember we had a statue, so he's always been here, kind of a thing.
Nice.
Fair.
I like that. Good answer. All right.
Yes,
I
got a good answer on the pod.
I know that when it comes to cameos and speculation and everything, and leading up to these bigger films, it does get a little lost in the noise after a while when we're getting excited for these projects, because they when they're this big, they do kind of feel like they start to lose their significance if they're all this big, and we're still coming down, in my opinion, a little bit from the hype of Avengers Endgame and the closing of the Infinity Saga, and ushering in this new phase of heroes. We're still kind of riding that high from Endgame because they're introducing so much new stuff that we have to get used to. So while we're learning all these new things, we still remember recently all these big events, and it is kind of a gradual decline because Multiverse of Madness is still a big event film, in my opinion. It felt more contained, but there is a lot happening that is crucial to the MCU. With Thor Love and Thunder, it's hard to get that same feeling because it feels so centric around Thor's story and, gods as a whole, which really doesn't relate to a lot of what the MCU is covering right now, other than recent installments like Moon Knight. Do you think Thor: Love and Thunder will feel even more contained than Multiverse of Madness did, or do you think this is going to be one that feels like a big summer blockbuster, like it's a big event film?
I think it'll be really contained. Honestly, I think Taika shines. I mean, look at Thor Ragnarok, right? You play in the sandbox of Earth and Asgard. That's essentially all you go to, right? And the reason it shines so well is because at the core of that movie is the message that Asgard is a people there, it's not a place. And so we're able to really hone on a very particular thing about this movie, and it stays contained. And I think that Taika knows that he's good when things stay contained like that. I think he's getting a bigger or a bigger sandbox than Ragnarok for sure when you bring in Gore and you have to talk about gods and probably celestials. There's a scene in the trailer we see Gore obliterating a planet, which possibly he is taking out a celestial before they have the chance to be born, right? Eternal style. Yeah. I think that could be something interesting. I think it's going to be much more contained, and I don't like the word Easter egg, but much more like foreshadowing focused, right? Of like, hey, we're just gonna set up the dice on it, or like set up the storyline on just 2 or 3 things that you'll get down the line. They're not pertinent to this story right now, but here's how they connect, and it's a really good chance to have an exceptionally mind-blowing multiversal post-credit scene, right? Because if you're having a contained movie, you have a fucking crazy post-credit scene, then you satisfy all your cameo Easter egg fans that need something outside of the box, right? But I think it'll be very contained, summer blockbuster, going for $1 billion, cast the net wide type situation.
Isn't it a little weird that we've become so accustomed to like all the cameos and surprises that like it's just an element that we assume is going to be integrated into like each film now? You know, before it was just like, oh, maybe a surprise character pops up here and there, and now it's at a point where like if there isn't one, you're like, what were they thinking? What were they doing there? You know, is that weird?
Moon Knight.
Yeah,
I feel like it hasn't always been that way. Am I weird? No. Am I wrong for feeling that way?
No, I think it's a kind of a double-sided blade when you get to such an expansive universe. You don't have a choice. Even if you do want a contained movie, and I've talked about this on my pod at length and with other people, you can't really have a self-contained movie anymore. You cannot have a really even a Shang-Chi like anymore. That was like a moment in time that you could still pull off a very singular origin story, and all of those origin stories are moving to Disney Plus now with Moon Knight and She-Hulk coming up and all of these things. You have to have you've created this universe for yourself where you have to have everything interconnecting all the time, or nobody is happy. And I don't want to go down this road, so I'm going to stop. But it is potentially the Rise of Skywalker issue in 10 years. And I don't want to say it. And Kevin Feige is at the helm. Star Wars did not have a Kevin Feige, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm just saying, we've created this monster, and we have to live with this monster now. So yeah, cameos have to be everywhere, man. That's my long answer.
You're
to
right.
Your very simple question.
No, we're in an interesting time. All of the movies they're releasing are like sequels this year. We had Multiverse of Madness was a Doctor Strange sequel. We have a Thor sequel. We have a Black Panther sequel. All the original stories that are introducing new characters and new origin stories, at least, you're right, are all on a new medium now through Disney Plus. Where they tend to shove even more Easter eggs and cameos into, with the exception of Moon Knight, which I really appreciated. But yeah, back to Thor: Love and Thunder, because we're not done breaking down this trailer yet. Ethan, we've talked a little bit about Natalie Portman's Jane Foster. I'm very interested to hear how you're feeling about her return. She's been gone since Thor 2. We haven't really heard from her, even figured out what she's been up to. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't even know if we know for sure whether or not she was blipped.
She was blipped, baby. You want to know how I know?
Tell me.
If you look at the trailer, the very specific scene where she's like, "Oh, what has it been, like 2-3 years?" And he's like, "Nah, it's been 8 years. This, and this." That to me implies that she was blipped because she lost sense of 5 years of time, right?
Yes,
because Thor is very on it, and she is like 2-3 years, like whatever.
Sure.
No, but
So
no,
so what's going on? What are they doing with Jane Foster here? How is Mjolnir is like rebuilt and can apparently, based on this new trailer, Mjolnir's got some new abilities where each piece of it can be controlled individually. I'm going to pull up a picture of that here in a second. What is going on with Jane Foster? How is she getting these abilities? What do you expect from her reintroduction with these new updates to the character? Are you excited for it? Are you worried about it? What are your thoughts going in?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Thomas. You take this one, man.
So I don't know how. I'm gonna guess because of the comics, the living storm that's inside of it. Odin's little enchantment that he gave it right then and there before Thor comes to Earth in the beginning of Thor. I think that has something to do with it, and it seems that Jane shows up for the first time in this scene where, he's almost got Mjolnir back in his hand and it goes to Jane instead. Well, that's in New Asgard, and we all thought it was symbiote people, but it's like some kind of insect ant looking frackers. So seems that maybe this is her coming out right here. And then it's like he sees, oh, okay, blah, blah, blah in here. She's looking a certain way. Boom. I put on my new costume. I look a certain way. I go helmet. We go toe to toe with these creatures. And then, oh, it's Jane. Cut to Mount Olympus, where eventually she just, with her fighting style, I've read is going to be more like ballet, whereas, Hemsworth's is more boxing. Based
Black Swan action. Okay.
A little Black Swan action, some paroes, a couple things, and then, throwing pieces of Mjolnir Uru at people just to reassemble in your. Are you kidding me? That's awesome. It's like it's like those knife chains that like Xialing uses, but it always comes back and you don't need any chain.
I like that.
I like that comparison a lot, actually. That's great.
Yeah, I think it's you have to be upfront with her becoming the new Thor, or at least becoming like, the mighty Thor in some sense, because that's your sell. Like, that's how you get people that's how you get butts and seats, is like people knowing that she is going to be a prominent character in this movie. I think it's interesting how they've undersold Valkyrie, and I think a lot of us are very, very intent on learning more about Valkyrie's story and seeing now that she is the king of New Asgard, her finding her queen and all of these things. I know I'm interested in that. Natalie Portman's jacked as all hell, which is absurd. She is crazy for this movie. I am excited to see their chemistry again. I'm excited to see them share a screen. I think they're both, very good characters that play off of one another. And I think it's got a big potential for a pretty like weighty emotional beat when you talk about if she was indeed blipped and what that did to Thor and how he took that as a loss for him. I don't think we see anything for her tatted on his back, but who's to say there's nothing elsewhere? Who's to say this isn't a major like
no, if you don't make the back, if you're not a back tattoo.
The butt was pixelated, man. If it's anywhere, it's gonna be there, right?
Man, that's great.
I'm excited for Natalie Portman to be back. I'm excited for Jane. I think it's gonna be a very action forward storyline.
Love that. All right. Yeah, I have to agree. I think Jane Foster's reintegration is going to be huge, because I don't think it would be worth doing if it wasn't. By Thor Ragnarok, it kind of seemed like they were trying to write her out and, kind of kiss that storyline goodbye and move on to newer things. And then we get an announcement that she's coming back and she's going to be the new Thor. So either there was a major shift in ideas at Marvel Studios, or someone just had a really good suggestion that she bit onto, but they want to keep her around for some reason, because even with how tumultuous the relationship was between her and Marvel Studios through the first two films, Taika Waititi's writing is what brought her back. He's the one that won her over. And that says big things to me about this movie and what to expect from it is even though in his last movie, he was the one trying to write her out, and have audiences seemingly move on from her. The same guy has this idea of, okay, we're going to reintroduce her, and we've got big plans. We're going to make her the new Thor. I think that's something to be excited about.
There are 5 actors in this movie with Academy Awards. Granted, 2 of them are from writing, but they're still actors and they still have it. And one of them is the writer of this movie. So it's insane.
That's stupid. That's so stupid, because any single time people are like, Marvel follows this formula and Marvel only makes $1 billion because superheroes and blah, 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 blah. You just drop, they have 5 Academy Award winners in a freaking Thor movie. That's right. That's absurd. Right. How did we even get to this point? Because I remember when we were in like phase 1, 2, and 3, and you're like, oh my God, Anthony Hopkins, Academy Award winner. I can't believe he's in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is crazy. Right. And now we just have 5. And dude, I had not heard that stat or done the research until now. So I guess my mind is just a little bit blown coming from like a cinematic perspective. Wow.
Well, I think it all comes back around to who Marvel decides to helm these projects, because that again comes back to Taika Waititi. I have to believe he's also the reason Christian Bale is on, because Christian Bale hasn't wanted to do anything like this since he was done with the Batman, and he had no interest in stepping back into this realm, and now he's the main villain of Thor's 4th movie in the ever expanding MCU. That's not something you step into unless it has something something to benefit from. And with Bale specifically, I don't think he needs this. He's already kind of a staple in cinema and is known as one of the greatest method actors around. So for him to see an opportunity to bring something unique to the table here, I think says a lot more about it. That combined with Natalie Portman, I think that says huge things about this movie. I'm expecting to enjoy it a bit more than Multiverse of Madness. I think this will be the Marvel film this year.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely. We're also probably going to get an introduction to the Wakandan gods as well, Bast. But I want to circle back to Jane. There's a strong possibility that she has her health issues that they have from the comics. It's been mentioned by Taika in things. So we should be expecting a very different Jane Foster without a hammer than we'd get with the hammer at the same time.
This is a really interesting junction for Marvel as well, because it is a completely lay your cards on the table type movie. When you have someone in Taika and you have a studio moving in the direction that they are, you have these 2 very, very prominent character storylines. The first one in Jane and her medical condition, and do they adapt that somewhat accurately, or do they disregard it at all? I think is a huge thing. We'll see what they do. And number 2, I mentioned in Valkyrie and her finding her Queen of Asgard and her LGBTQ plus representation on the big screen, not Loki just saying like a little bit of both and people losing their minds. We're talking about the big screen, talking probably over 350, probably $400 million domestically. That's a lot of people seeing this movie. And I think it's a huge point in time for this studio to finally commit and say, we are okay with this being on screen. We support it. We love these storylines, and that's the direction that we're going, instead of backing off from it once again. So just a random thought that was on my mind, but I think there's a lot of power at play here for this movie. Love that out.
Swinging for the fences. I love it, man. I love it. All right, let's jump into your questions, JRB.
All right, I've got a couple from the great Marvel mind of Ethan Simmie. I want to know, we already talked about Jane Foster's hype level, so we kind of know where you sit on that now. I also want to know what you're expecting from the Guardians in this film. The second trailer, it reminded us that they're in here, but it really didn't show a lot about what's going on. It did feature specifically Drax and Mantis in battle towards the end of it. And Drax is someone that came to mind when you were talking about Gore the God Butcher, because what you're saying about his introduction, about what you expect from his arc, and asking if he can be based solely off vengeance and retribution, that's kind of what we were dealing with Drax as a character. And now that Thanos is gone, we saw him kind of building his way up to that. we don't know what Drax is going to do now. We don't really know what his purpose is, or what the MCU has for him going forward. And I know we're probably towards the end of that character arc anyway, but I think that's a good representation of what you were thinking of Gore the God Butcher is. Can he stick around without having some sort of end goal? So with the Guardians of the Galaxy, what's their end goal here? Like, how do you expect them to be integrated into this story? And are you expecting them to contribute a lot, or are they just going to kind of be there as kind of a transition from Endgame, so it makes sense for the audience?
Right. I think on both fronts. I think first, I don't think they're actually going to be playing a huge part in this movie, much to the chagrin of a lot of people that don't want to hear that. A lot of people think they are going to be playing a large role. And maybe I'm just a terrible person, but I think it's a big lead in for Guardians Volume 3. That's really all that I think we're getting here. I think we're just getting a huge through line to say, look, the Guardians haven't gone anywhere. They're here. They're hanging out with Thor. They're going to probably support with Gore a little bit. And then we have a massive setup for Guardians 3, which apparently has Adam Warlock, which we know is going to be quite big. So I think they're going to be sidelined quite a bit. I think they're going to be a big comic relief. I am hoping that we do at least get a couple big emotional beats with them to warrant them being in the movie. But the Debbie Downer in me says they're just here because of the way that they were set up. Really.
Okay. So just Pico working with what he's got. All right. That's interesting.
I hate to say it. I hate to be that guy, but watch me be absolutely wrong here in like 40 days.
I mean, with the information we have, it kind of makes sense. It's like, well, how do they fit into this story? The only one close to being a god, quote unquote, is Peter Quill, and he kind of gave that up in his last movie. So it is a little confusing how they're going to, be involved in this. But maybe it is just Thor trekking along with them until he realizes that he needs to either return to Earth or set out on his own path. Thomas, do you have any wants or needs from the Guardians in this upcoming film?
I forgot they were in this film.
Boom, I'm right.
Let's go. See, maybe that's for the best then, is because we did make a big deal about them being involved, but maybe it is pretty minimal. We are going to run into those moments where it's just we see characters in passing. And this may be one of those times, is that it was just set up that way, and that's how it has to be continued. So it makes sense, from a narrative perspective.
Yeah, I concur. I'm ready for your final question that I see here, mostly because it's going to delve into some questions about the plot.
Yes. So I've already written an article or two about this over on the direct.com. Ethan, I want to get your thoughts on this. Thor 4 is a first for any MCU hero. It's the fourth installment in a solo superhero franchise. Will the fourth film for the Thor franchise be Chris Hemsworth's Thor's last time in the MCU? Do you think this is being set up as a transitional period for Jane Foster's Thor? Do you think we're saying goodbye to Chris Hemsworth's Thor, even if it's just for now? Or do you think this is opening up possibilities to do even more with the character after this?
I do think that we are getting a goodbye. I do think that we are getting a transition. I do not think that anybody is I don't think that Thor is like dying. I don't think that anything tragic is going to happen to him. I think we're just going to see a passing of the torch, essentially a very Captain America-esque, like, let's just hand off the shield, and who knows, maybe if I ever come back, that could be pretty fun too. So I think going into a fourth film, you're in really uncharted territory for a main character. This, to me, is totally justified because the first two movies are so totally different than the back two that we're getting. It does not feel like a 4-movie arc. It feels like sets of 2. But I do think Jane Foster being so prominent, you're going to get some type of send-off. You're going to get something. It looks to be that he could possibly be on an ancestral plane, like of some sort, a la Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther. The way that Korg was talking about him in the beginning, he was telling these kids a story of Thor as if Thor was not there. So it's
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it?
making me scared a little bit.
I agree. Yeah, the way they open that, why would Korg have to tell this story? Is he not with Thor anymore? You know, it could be more than them just splitting up and not being on the same planet. It could be that Korg has to tell this story because it's the only way his memory lives on. Thomas, this is what I was most excited to talk about on the show because I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think Chris Hemsworth Thor makes it past this movie, or do you think that Thor Love and Thunder will be that passing of the torch that Ethan is referring to, where, you know, this is where Hemsworth hangs it up for a bit?
Listen here, Ethan. Don't you put that devil on me, Ricky Bobby. All right? I don't need that. Now, if he dies, I really don't need it. But if he goes off and goes into like a peaceful little, quaint little 5 years or whatever, fine, man. Like, everybody deserves peace. I think this voiceover is a complete lie. Is this Thor's goodbye movie? Maybe. Is it the beginning of Thor's saving the next big event, which might be a War of the Realms kind of thing where he saves everyone, but then he dies? Right? I'm looking at you, Tony Stank. I want a better arc for my guy. But I think this Korg VO is a primer more to the little blue kids about Thor coming to save them, or why they should look to Thor after having been saved. Then I think Thor goes and finds dead gods of this planet. Whatever's happening is happening. I'm assuming we'll get some backstory here. My guess is there's a war going on because they feel like there's no gods, and because of that, blah, 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 blah. Thor saves them, then goes to look for the gods, finds the gods are dead. He's sitting there at the tree. The Guardians come up. What do you want to do? Well, I've got to go on a journey. Well, we can't do that. Drop me off. It's a car. Drop him off. It's a car. Goes with Korg. Maybe someone else is there. I don't know. That'd be awesome. And then from there, they go and find his friend who's dead. My assumption is they might go to New Asgard first, grab the goat boat, as JRB calls it, travels, find his dead friend, that big, I can't remember the name of the creature, but it's a straight from the comic reference. Boom, we go back to New Asgard. Then there's an invasion of the ant people, as I'm calling them. That's when Jane shows up as the mighty Thor. From there, we go on a jaunt across the across the cosmos to other god places. We end up at, what's the movie? What's that place called with the Greeks? Mount Olympus. We end up in Olympus. Shout out Eternals for lying to us. And then, or did they? Or did they?
I can't believe we don't even talk about Eternals, and the one team you mentioned is just massive shade towards my camp. How could you? God.
That's my favorite part of that, is they just straight up lie to you in the crawl, and I'm like, that's so awesome, dude. Like, but they go to Olympus. The Olympians die because they're fat and eating grapes, and that's how we go along. Does Thor die? Yes. Is it Hemsworth Thor? I don't know. I think one Thor goes down.
Wow. Okay,
but is this, giving Jane Foster and Natalie Portman like one last jaunt as Thor, and then like, oh, you don't want to be here, you just want to come back for the one, fine? Or is it more of a, here you go, Natalie Portman, stage act, be our Thor. Hemsworth, you can go do your Hulk Hogan stuff. Come back to us in a couple years. You're going to go be something somewhere, everywhere, all at once, probably. But I don't think this is Thor's goodbye movie, because I think they're leaving money on the table by not adapting War of the Realms, which would need, I don't know, just like a resurrection of a bunch of different characters, which they're about to do in a Secret War. But you could have some resurrections before, what I'm saying.
We need to hang on to the Bifrost too, and Jane, as far as I know, Jane's not able to control the Bifrost like Thor is with Stormbreaker. So it would be kind of tough to keep that operating without him. I think that brings me to my final question for Thor Love and Thunder then. And this is for both of you. What's going on with his eyes? Are we just totally past the moment where Hela, cut his eye out and then it was replaced by Rocket, because now in this trailer, both his eyes look blue again. And I just want to know how to feel about Thor's eyes. Are we just back to acknowledging that he's got two eyes and we're not going to worry about one of them being fake? Or Ethan, how are you dealing with this? This Thor's eyeball gate. What's going on?
Look, I run a Marvel podcast. They pulled one over on me, man. I saw those gorgeous, beautiful blue eyes, and I was like, that's my boy. That's Thor. He's got two good-looking eyeballs. Can't fault him.
It's easy to accept. You're right. It's not hard. Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I totally think that it could be Taika. It could be whoever is like, let's just sweep it under the rug and make him have some good-looking eyes. Like, I just don't think there's anything else there.
That's so wild. Thomas, do you have anything to add to this, or am I just nitpicking? I feel like cutting his eye out, especially being in the third act of Ragnarok,
should have been a big deal, right?
It should have been a big deal.
But they gave him a different colored eye in Infinity War. So then Taika's like, well, fuck it, I'll just give him a blue eye because fucking Rocket will pull it out of his asshole this time.
That's a good point. Is Taika made the call to lose the eye, and then the Russo brothers were like, no, and they put it right back.
I guarantee you, on whatever press that they do for this movie, someone will ask about the eye, and I know Taika will just be like, no, I liked blue better than the other color he had, and that's it. That's all he's ever gonna say, and people are just gonna be like, okay, like, sounds good, like, whatever.
So are we gonna see Thor lose another body part, or do you think he's gonna come out intact on this one? You think we're okay? Do you think it's not going to be escalated, is it?
I hope not, man.
Okay. All right, cool. Because I don't know if I can deal with
that. You know what? He could lose a left arm.
I know, because especially if they decide to go like the King Thor route, I think we're in some trouble. We might not be able to hold on to that arm.
Malekith is dead, right? Yeah. I don't think Christopher Eccleston is coming back. So why don't we just use Gore to cut his arm off? Because I don't think. Oh God, if we do War of the Realms, who's gonna run it? Doom. Fuck yeah, let's go. Thor versus Doom.
I love how you just played through that entire thing in your head. You jumped from one thing completely to the thing completely to the end.
My bad. It's what I do.
That was awesome.
That's what I do. The strongest Avenger.
Wow. All right. With that, final thoughts on Thor: Love and Thunder's latest trailer. I know, Ethan, your hype level's gone up after seeing it. Thomas, I know you and I feel the exact same way. Our hype level is through the roof for Thor: Love and Thunder. Ethan, above all else, what do you want to get out of this movie?
Dude, I just want to have a good time. I'm going to be honest with you. I just want to go. I just want to have a really fun cinematic experience. I just want to laugh at what I think is funny and not what everybody else thinks is funny. I want to see some cool, like, God shit, which we're obviously going to see. And I want to see Christian Bale just go full send. I just want to see him like go full method for this role as Gore the God Butcher. Like I said many times before, it's got the perfect potential to be the perfect summer blockbuster popcorn movie, and I think it needs to do just that. Love it.
Absolutely love it. Thomas,
which is the worst answer coming from somebody that runs a Marvel podcast. Because I should want so much more than that, but no, I just want to have a good time.
You're right. This is the movie, if any, this year where it can be that. It can be that summer blockbuster popcorn flick where everyone just goes and has a good time. Because Marvel, believe it or not, still needs to do that to keep their fans. They can't 100%. All be these huge, heavy, overweighted like the event films that have all of this consequence and dread. We need to have a film like this where, it might be very impactful, but it seems like it's just a fun ride, you know? I think Thomas and I can both agree that we're looking forward to taking that ride, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Love it. Thomas, are there any final thoughts on Thor: Love and Thunder?
Inject it straight into my veins. Give me Beta Ray Bill. That's about it. Hire me.
Beta Ray Bill. Yes. Let's hope that's who they're going to seek in Sakaar.
Let me be my fucking good love. Let me be the voice of Beta Ray Bill. I don't know what he'd sound like, but maybe something like this. And then when he wants to, it's real smooth. But he's a horse, so.
Awesome.
A Korganite. We're going to go ahead and take a brief ad break. Give it about 2 minutes, and then we'll be right back. And we're gonna talk The Boys.
Join author Gary Zeiger for an animatic short film based on his Breakaway Stingray novel series. Watch this animatic short based on the novel Stingray, You Can't Hide Forever at stingrayseries.com. In Stingray, You Can't Hide Forever, Captain Epsilon is putting the band back together to rescue his protege's little sister from the evil conglomerate, while keeping his state-of-the-art warship Stingray out of their hands. Watch as the adventure unfolds in the groundbreaking animatic short at stingrayseries.com. Then, join the crew of Stingray with the next novel in the series, Stingray Prophecy, where Captain Epsilon and Dr. Zubre are pivotal players in an ancient prophecy. Can they reunite the people of two worlds before they destroy each other? To learn more, visit stingrayseries.com.
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics.
In the summer of 1953, private investigator Will Lucky Marks was working as the in-house private eye for Arcane Pacific Pictures. Trapped inside the studio with the killer, Lucky must find the killer before time runs out. Lot 28. Own it today. Available iTunes and Amazon.com.
And we are back, baby. We're going to move on to our second main topic of the day, and that's The Boys, Season 3 timer / hype train / Season 1 and 2 recap / holy fuck, you can just listen to it all.
Oh, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Ethan, you are literally fresh out of seeing the Season 2 finale of The Boys. Before we dive into any recaps, any speculation, anything related to what our thoughts are, is your mind okay? Are you good? Dude, trekking all the way through this and binging through, I feel like is quite a feat. How are you mentally coming out of this?
Dude, I don't know, because The Boys had so many scenes in like the last 4 episodes where I was like, is this real or are we just messing with you? And I've been DMing you guys like for the last 4 or 5 days when I see these scenes. It is pure chaos. I watched 3 episodes. I did 3 episodes 2 days ago, 3 episodes last night, 2 episodes today, in order to try to finish on time for this pod, because I wanted to be here. I wanted to be current. I wanted to know everything. The end of episode 7 of season 2 just blew my freaking mind. We'll get into it. We'll talk, but my overall thoughts, this show was pretty good up until like season 2 halfway through. And I thought it was just okay. I thought there were definitely some highlights and lowlights. And then once we hit that episode 4, season 2, and things start to go sideways, I was like, cool, this is where the Emmy nom comes from. This is now why I care about this show. And this is where things get weird, is because we've had 12 episodes to set up what I've personally been waiting for ever since the first few episodes. I'm very excited to talk about this.
That's awesome. Yeah, man. And we're excited to talk about it with you too. Thomas, do you want to take us through the season 1 recap, or do you want me to? I'm here for it.
I can. You want to do season 1? I'll do season 2, or
cool.
Vice versa.
So season 1, for anyone who doesn't know what The Boys is, that here's what I'll do. I'll set up the basis of season 1 and just let you know what we're talking about. So The Boys is set, and this is going to help. This help's going to come from fandom.com, because I use them as a database for all of this. I love that fandom has such a deep database for this show. Because there is a lot of comic background to this show that like through like the graphic novels and stuff that I had no idea existed until after I already started watching this. And so a lot of these heroes that you see mentioned in the show have like a full backstory already written about them. So it's fun to look that up. But yeah, so fandom's going to help out with that. So The Boys, it's set in a universe where superpowered people are heroes in the general public, but they're privatized. You know, they're owned by powerful corporations, mainly this one corporation called Vought International, who markets and monetizes superheroes, or they're, you know, named soups. But most of these superheroes are, you know, arrogant and corrupt, a lot like, you know, politicians and a lot of celebrities, because they do get like uber famous worldwide. But so this show basically focuses on the Seven, which is Vought's superhero group, kind of similar to like the Justice League, that has Homelander, Maeve, the Deep, Black Noir, A-Train, Vanisher, Starlight, who took Lamplighter's spot. But yeah, it's essentially a modernized version of like the Justice League. And so the show starts out where Lamplighter is no longer part of the team. So we meet Starlight, who's played by help me out with the actress's name.
She looks exactly like Kate Mara. I could not get that out of my head the entire series.
It's something Moriarty, I think. Erin
Moriarty, yes.
Erin Moriarty, there it is. Yeah, plays Starlight, and she's kind of the new hero we get to see integrated into the team. But the season's all about Huey, Hugh Campbell, who's played by is Dennis Quaid's son, Jack Quaid.
Jack Quaid.
Man, he does such a good job. But his longtime girlfriend is killed by A-Train, who is the speedster of the group, because he's high on what we'll get to in a minute, is a substance that creates these supers and gives them their powers. And he can't control his speed and runs right through the woman. And within the first episode, we see someone literally explode because he just runs right through her. And so that sets the tone for the show almost
not just
immediately.
It's the first thing you see in the whole series.
It's within like the first 5 minutes. She's exploding, and all that are left are her two hands that Huey's left holding in the street. So the season progresses. We meet Carl Urban's Billy Butcher, who steals the spotlight in many cases, as he is kind of this, you know, grizzled like ex. Is it CIA or he's got ties with the CIA, he's hunting down these soups and trying to take them down and expose their corruption. But that's essentially the premise. As you go through the first season, you learn more and more about the corruption. You start to realize that the biggest heroes in the game, like Homelander and Maeve, have done some terrible things. Like a plane was hijacked, and they tried to get on the plane to stop the hijackers. They ended up taking out the whole control board of the plane.
When I saw that scene, I thought, wow, this is wild. This is unbelievably absurd and corrupt, and this is where things peak. And boy, was I so wrong, because that's not even the surface, man.
No,
that is right.
It's just a taste. It really is. And you get a look into Homelander's true identity and how he lives, and it's all for himself, and it's all for the fame and the glory and the image of it. But essentially they let that plane go down because they realized that if they let those people survive, they would kind of expose, you know, that they're not these perfect beings. And it really adds weight to the show that, man, these people truly have no one to put them in check and are running rampant, and all that's left to stop them really is this group of the boys. And it's Billy Butcher and it's Hugh Campbell. It's these guys that have witnessed it and been affected by it personally that are trying to take them down. So it feels it's personal, you know, you feel that attachment to their drive of what they're trying to prevent. But the interesting part of the show is the layers of it. It's the characters like Erin Moriarty's Starlight, where she is a soup and she does want the life of the superhero, but she realizes it's not at all what she thought it would be. And she's kind of like that inside man where she's constantly going back and forth between, do I want this life of being a soup with the Seven, or do I want, you know, to do what's right, or can I even have both of those things at the same time? And so the first season really puts in perspective the morale of it all, and you know, where everyone is sitting. And then, like you said, Ethan, season 2 is where they can take everything that they showed you in the first season and freaking run with it. And it gets freaking weird. So I'm done talking about season 1. If you haven't seen season 1 by now, do what Ethan did and binge through it, because season 3 is starting next week. But this week, you're right.
This week,
oh my gosh,
Friday.
You're right.
Yeah, no pressure.
So, Thomas, season 2 introduced us to a lot more stuff.
Yeah, there's some fun stuff that you didn't mention that's really important to like the whole narrative. Real fast. Like, I don't know, Homelander kind of raping Billy Butcher's wife and then having a child that has superpowers, maybe the first ever natural born superhero.
Yes.
AKA the prodigal son.
The prodigal son. A focus point of season 2.
Mm-hmm. Yes, a very big focus point of season 2, probably a focus point of season 3 and 4. I looked into some stuff and now I know too many things. So now I'm like,
no, I swear to God, Thomas, if you say anything, I will never come back on this pod.
all I saw was like, oh, this character does this in the comics, and I went, fuck, I wish I didn't know.
That happened to me in season 2. Sitting down 5 minutes in, they go, Stormfront's a Nazi, and I go, what? What?
I would have been so mad if I had that spoiled for me, dude. When that dropped, I was like, wow.
I was like, what the fuck is her problem, man? But he ends up finding where the kid is. That's when Madeline Stillwell, thank you. All I know is she's Melty McEyeball face. And what a terrible name. Ouch. I know. Just like Homelander said in season 2. Ouch, I shouldn't have did that. But then he knocks out Butcher, finds the kid. That's how it all kind of ends. Season 2 starts up, and we don't really know the status quo. It takes like the first 3 episodes to really figure it out that Butcher was left alive. Turns out to be a deal because of Becca, and between her and Homelander, not to kill him. And therefore, she'll give visitation rights to Homelander with the son, Ryan. That leads to a whole thing throughout the whole series. Ryan is a big focus. Homelander wants Ryan. And then, Stormfront goes all Nazi on Ryan. And even Homelander's like, come again?
Stormfront is from Portland, if I'm not mistaken, when she says like she's from Portland. And I was like, oh man, that sucks to be associated with a Nazi superhero. Was not really hoping for that look for Portland, honestly.
yeah, that's a rough one. That's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But the
Man,
story
they did a good job of making us hate her like immediately too.
Real
quick.
Oh, so it only took an episode.
Yeah. Wait, it was pretty instant.
Yeah. No. When did we find out she was Liberty? Was that episode 2? It was in the first 3, I believe.
It was within the first 3 episodes. Yeah, I think it was towards the end of that. But yeah, we find out a lot about her pretty quickly, but it takes a while for anything to actually be done about it.
Oh, that's not right. That's like episode 4 or 5 that we find out because that's like the same episode we find out she's a Nazi. Yeah.
No, yeah. Deeper. They spend that episode. Who did they go visit to find out her backstory? Who is it that the
sister that was in the car?
Yeah,
that's what I remember.
Right. That's right, because who she and this was ended up being a very gruesome story, but it actually even shed some more light on more topical things in our current society, and yeah, that was one of the tougher scenes to watch, as we found out Liberty was just a full-blown racist. And yet she just brutally murdered this guy, and his sister, right, witnessed it. Mm-hmm. And what ended up being who revealed Stormfront's actual intentions for us as the viewer. So that played a huge role in season 2. And Stormfront was a huge focal point, like out in the open in season 2, and I feel like that was kind of like the big showy, kind of like not over the top, but like the big flashy look at me plot throughout season 2. But there was also so much going on behind the scenes and in the background, through these activism efforts, through a senator whose name is it Victoria Newman, who is essentially like the boys' version of Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, AOC. She's fighting for the people. You know, she's the people's person, and saying that these soups have too much power and they're corrupt and everything. And Huey ends up working for her by the end of the show. But that
was mind blowing.
Well, there's a lot literally mind blowing about this character, including the fact that she can literally blow up people's minds.
That reveal was insane.
Yeah,
that reveal was
too.
So crazy. When she was on the phone with the guy from the Church of the Collective and she was like striking a deal and then his head exploded, I literally like pushed my chair back from my seat and I was like, what the fuck? Like, what are we doing? Who is this? How do they know when they're wheeling and dealing? And then you see her eyes go and I was like, wow, it's been an inside job basically the whole time. This is crazy stuff, which makes episode 7, the courtroom scene where everybody's head starts blowing up, even crazier because she can enact her power while she is putting on a show, while she is claiming that she's under distress and acting as if it is happening to her. She can have it done to other people. So it's absurd.
It's creepy.
It really is. It is. And
that's
going
a
back
scary
and
power.
analyzing those scenes is even more fun because you're right. It was right in front of us all along. And she did act well and did seem in distress, but they weren't hiding it. She has to look right at the person to be able to make their head explode. And it showed her looking at each person as it happened, looking in their direction. And it's crazy that it was literally right in front of us. I saw it in a reaction video. That was I've watched the second season twice, and even going through the second time, it's so instant, like and catches you so off guard. It happens throughout the entire first season. You see these terrorist attacks that they're calling it. And that's another instance of like it representing reality of like the media branding everything this huge terrorism stuff to like, you know, scare the public and get big reactions to it, when reality it was corruption. It was a senator that was causing all of this. But yeah, it happened so many different times throughout the second season, but every time it happened, it was so unexpected and threw you off that you didn't even know where you were or what was happening at the time. You know, it's so the way that they revealed that at the end of the second season is peak television, in my opinion. That was the perfect build-up that, in my opinion, no one saw coming. It makes me more excited for season 3 because they're taking us on this journey and making us look this way when really we should be looking that way. And even, like I said, rewatching it, you still get caught up in that and miss things. And they're able to surprise you. So I've really enjoyed the ride that they take you on as they tell this story, because it is over the top and it's very graphic and it throws you off, but the way it throws you off is so satisfying. I'm assuming you've been on quite the roller coaster over these past couple weeks as you're watching through this, right, Ethan?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I'm pretty sure I DM'd you guys too when Homelander is kind of up in front of the group of protesters next to Newman and kind of like shows up and tries to like manage his own PR campaign here. And people start going off on him and saying like, you know, they like Homelander doesn't speak for them and all this kind of stuff. He just laser beams like hundreds of people. And I was like, this is it. This is the crux of the show, when Homelander goes completely black and just absolutely goes off the rails, only to find out a minute later that it was a daydream. It was what he wanted to do and what he didn't end up doing. So I think two things: interesting that it speaks to his core character, how he is actually able to restrain himself in a situation like that, even though it appears that he might not be able to constrain himself most of the time. And then second, like things like that, where you think this is the moment and it ends up not being the moment, is done very well in this show. I think there's a lot of parts about that where it's like, oh, this is huge. And it's like, no, this is not big compared to what is coming either next episode or the next or whatever. I am curious, what did you guys think of the Deep and like his Church of the Collective kind of side story that we get here in season 2? Because it feels very like side questy. It feels very pushed to the side. I understand the connection. You have to have the Church of the Collective to get that huge payoff at the end of seeing Newman do that to the guy, like the main guy. But the whole Fresca bit, I think, is really funny. And like, I think they're going to play a large part in season 3. I don't know what you know or don't know. I don't know anything about the comics, but I think it's interesting. I guess I just don't know how I feel about it.
So I think the Church of the Collective in season 2 is very side questy. I agree. But it is important to go on that journey with the Deep. But it turns out to be they're the saviors of the Nazi information. They're the ones who have the information because it was started way back in the day by her grandfather or whatever. And so, of course, they have a file on her. A-Train's the one who gets to blackmail that out there. And, you know, it looks better coming from him than anybody else because of, you know, reasons. And gets him back into the 7. Well, along the way, it's just another way to kill the Deep a little bit more on the inside.
Yeah.
He was just a means to get A-Train, and then it's like, well, you know, A-Train's better. So the fact that he gets killed, no big deal. Whoever takes over the Church of the Collective, though, is going to be a very big deal. And if it's the Deep finding out, you know, it might happen. Shout out to the whale scene of episode 3.
Yeah.
That was
That's rough, man.
Diabolical.
That was diabolical.
That was really rough.
That was amazing. An amazing, really, my favorite part about that is that's a practical set that somebody built. They had to build the inside of a whale.
Yeah, man,
that's
a
awesome.
great thought
Crazy.
that I don't think enough people thought about is that to get that shot of Huey just sitting there defeated inside of a blown up whale is that they had to literally build what looked like a blown up whale for him to sit in and cover him in whale guts. And
it's crazy.
Yeah, the lengths that they go to in this show to make it feel as real as it is absolutely nuts. I can't believe how far they go to really make sure you stay immersed in this. But I mean, especially for a TV budget, you see these shows on Disney Plus, and I'm not criticizing the stories that we're getting from like Marvel and Star Wars, but the CGI, some of it is TV level CGI. The blend of practical effects and computer generated imagery you get in The Boys, in my opinion, is some of the better stuff we're getting across any streaming platform right now. They really devote a lot of their budget, and a lot of that has to do with, I think, the bigger or the not so big names that they get until now, like guys like Jensen Ackles, is because they're not devoting as much money to the cast. They're putting more towards effects and the imagery of it all to make sure you're fully immersed, just like you are in the graphic novels. And I think that's working out really well for them because you see images like that. And my first thought, Thomas, is not, oh, that's a fake whale. My first thought is that's freaking disgusting. Like it does not take me out of it at all. Ethan, going through these scenes, seeing that literally in the belly of a whale, was that off-putting to you? Do you think it enhanced the experience? Do you think it took away from it? How were you feeling during those really graphic scenes?
I mean, I think that this show shines when it's graphic. Obviously, I think being a way more mature themed superhero show is where this is the best. And you know, you mentioned all of these things. You like inside the belly of the whale. Like, we have so many biblical allegories in this show. It is kind of absurd. And you know, the white savior complex and the child being born and all of these things. I think like the whale itself, practical effects is the way to go. Head smashing and head blowing up and tearing off people's faces. That is the way to go because nobody else is doing that right now. Marvel obviously is not doing that. And I mean, I don't know of anything else that is taking those liberties. I DM'd you guys last night when I watched a very particular episode when things got violently sexy. And I was like, I've been waiting for this. This is where I think The Boys shines because yes, it is rather off-putting sometimes. Like, no, I don't intend to see the inside of a whale when I throw on an episode of The Boys, nor do I intend to see Homelander and Stormfront banging while smashing somebody's head into the wall. But that is what The Boys is, right? That is the epitome of corruption and the epitome of self-idolization and everything that The Boys is really about. So I love it. I think it's really smart. I think this is the way to go. And these rather no names, save for Giancarlo Esposito. When he showed up, I was freaking out a little bit. I think is super awesome. And like one of his first lines, I don't know if you guys watch Breaking Bad, or like how current you are on it. One of his first lines, he was like, "Oh, trying to get Stillwell to take over for him because he was planning his retirement when he goes off to Belize." That is like a direct like Breaking Bad Easter egg. He mentions Belize in Breaking Bad.
I didn't know that.
Which was super, super cool. And then the therapist of the Church of the Collective, that woman that helps the Deep, she plays Gretchen Schwartz in Breaking Bad as well. So I love the Breaking Bad type spinoff stuff. But this show is unique, and I think it needs to continue to dive into that to be very successful.
Totally. Yep, absolutely, 100%. This show shines in the spots where no one else is doing what they're doing, and they do that very, very well.
Yes. Season 2 has the love story of Stormfront and Homelander. It ends, period. Maeve comes to grips with everything that Starlight and oh God, what's her name? What's Starlight's real name? Ellie? Annie, thank you. Annie. Between what she was telling Maeve in season 1 and things of that nature, Maeve buys into it, gets ready. Also, Homelander kind of forces Maeve to come out in public, which
total dick move. I was so pissed, dude.
Oh wow, yeah. My heart dropped during that scene.
And that's what pushes her a little bit further. So she blackmails Homelander in the finale, but she still loses Elena along the way. Effing freaking sad face.
And that comes back to that airplane scene that's been a plot point since the first season. Is that Maeve is threatening to go public about that, and she said, I don't want you to get away with this, and it's not right that you're getting away with this, and I can't live with this on my conscience any longer. And it gets to a point where she has to come clean, and she loses Elena because of that. We leave Maeve in a very uncertain, very broken spot at the end of season 2.
Yes, which it'll be interesting to see where it goes, especially considering what we see in the season 3 trailer, which we'll get to that in a moment. Butcher gets an offer from the White House, or for a White House gig in their new Soups division, headed by Congressman Victoria Newman. Huey leaves the boys, gets back together with Starlight to fight Vought the right way, but sneakily takes a job working for Victoria Newman. Stormfront is still alive, locked up in some facility somewhere. Some
is
place.
Is she though? Do you believe that she actually is? Because I thought that was something that Homelander just had to say. I thought that it was a PR stunt and that he just had to mention that.
I feel like people would have been. I don't think it is, because first of all, I think I would feel safer if they had just told me she was dead. But like as a person, just in the general public, I feel like if they came out and told me, "Oh, she's gone, you don't have to worry about her anymore," that would make me feel better than them saying she's detained. Because I didn't see her get cut in half. I don't know what state she's in, but she was still somewhat conscious at the end of season 2 there, and she was muttering something in German, and he does say that she's stabilizing or something. So I think they are. I think it's only so that they can keep her around if they want to use her again. I don't think it's because they have any plans for her right now. I think it was just in case there's a story that they can integrate her in later, where it can be one of those Palpatine moments where, oh, she was in horrible condition, but somehow she returned.
Really? Really? We're gonna go there.
Somehow
Stormfront returns.
Second Rise of the Skywalker shout out we've gotten on this pod. Let's go.
Rise of the Stormfront. Jesus.
Rise of the She could have her own stormtroopers. Yeah, that'd be great.
Fourth Reich.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah. No. How did we even get here? No.
You're like, yeah, she can have her own stuff, and I'm like, remember what this is about here, guys. It's about fighting fascism.
For real though, I don't know. Thomas, do you think Stormfront's still alive?
Yeah. Why would Vought let anything like that die? Why would Vought let money not sit on the table? Like,
that's a
we
good
can
point.
Just heal her. If we can heal her and use Gecko to regrow limbs and shit,
that's fair.
then by all means, we'll turn her, we'll get her back, and in 30 years, we'll try it all over again. They'll forget. It's just like the 70s.
That's something we keep forgetting about, is that Vought is truly at the center of all of this. Every single episode, it all comes back to this one corporation, and so quickly, so frequently, they're removed from like the forefront, and we forget that they're the center of all of these problems that we're seeing.
Yeah,
and that they're able to do so many sick, twisted things to get their way. And yeah, you're right. Keeping Stormfront alive strictly for their own gain is totally something they would do. I hadn't even thought of that. Great question, though. Yeah, I don't think Stormfront is dead, but I don't know. I wish he was. I don't want anything else to do with her. But Thomas, were there any other big plot points at the end of season 2 that we should mention before getting into our thoughts for season 3?
Just a little one. Ryan kills his mom on accident while taking out Stormbreaker. Had to do it while taking out Stormfront. And she dies, and her final words to Billy are, "Make sure he knows he's a good boy. Make sure he knows it's not his fault."
Yeah.
And it's like, ooh.
They are really setting up a big character in these first couple seasons. We don't even realize that this show could just be the origin story for this child, you know?
Yeah.
And that's a huge turning point for his character, and having to, he's going to be like the Anakin Skywalker of this series going forward, because he's going to walk that line of like, you know, good and bad as being a soup. And you know, he's probably going to have his ticks where you're going to be able to push him over that line, just like Billy Butcher, since he's spending so much time with him now, just like Homelander, since he's got that DNA. You know, that's a quite a mix of a person that you've got in Ryan right now. And yeah, having to kill his own mom by accident because he was trying to save his own mom from Stormfront is already putting him in such an interesting point at such a young age. We're going to be seeing some really interesting things coming from this Ryan character.
Yeah. I mean, for Ryan, for me, I'm kind of on the fence because he was very much treated like a MacGuffin in season 2 of like everything revolves around this, and we have to get the boy, and that's how we save Becca, and that's how we get to Vought, and that's how we do this and that and the other. And I think what is most intriguing to me about Ryan is the fact that he is potentially the first natural born soup. And if that is indeed the case, then that is huge for Vought. They just need to essentially stabilize Compound V for long enough to get an entire generation of natural born supers, or natural born soups. But then again, they probably don't want natural born soups because that puts Compound V out of commish. And as
there goes the demand.
Yeah, and as we are told, they are not a superhero company; they are a pharmaceutical company, and that is really at their core.
Yes.
So I think it raises really interesting problems for the future. I'm less so interested in like the boy and like the trauma. And I know I sound like an asshole saying that, but like I'm less interested in that because that's a trope and a storyline we've seen in Anakin Skywalker. We've seen it in so many other things. I want to personally dive deeper into the political thriller, which, fingers crossed, season 3, it looks like we have set up the potential for a lot of politics to go down like we're happening at the end of season 2, especially now that we have Newman and Jesus, why am I blanking on his name? The guy working for Newman.
Huey?
The main guy. Huey
Campbell.
Huey. Yeah.
We little Huey.
And now that he's working for, I feel like it's going in that direction. I like that direction. But I think there's a lot of storylines. And can I ask a kind of like a retorting question back to you guys? Because while I do think there are a lot of highlights to a lot of these things, sometimes I think these storylines get a little sloppy. Sometimes I think they get a little bit like Homelander was in the courtroom. He saw everybody's heads explode. He probably just chalks it up to Vought, but like, doesn't that mean that someone is more powerful than him? Doesn't that mean that he would be concerned about that instead of potentially being concerned about Ryan or Becca or something else. I know that's a huge scene, and I know we were leading up to that, but he didn't seem that shocked to me. And so like maybe little minuscule things like that where I'm like, oh, I feel like people would have reacted differently. And maybe I'm just like digging into it way too much and being too nitpicky. But I think having a lot of these characters well established now, I, as a viewer, expect them to act a certain way. Homelander is always trying to protect his position of power. He needs people to praise him, and he needs people to not lie to him. And that scene, a lot of shit goes down that takes a lot of that away for him. So I don't know if you guys feel like it gets sloppy sometimes, or if it's all warranted, or where you stand.
I don't know. I think the main focus of Homelander's character in the second season was that he kind of lost his way, and that as focused as he was on his position of power, as power hungry as he was, and so self-conscious about his status, Stormfront getting thrown into the mix kind of changed that dynamic for him, where now he was more reliant upon someone else to have that same level of fame. But he kind of was acting as if he kind of made it, like he had gotten there. You're right. The way he was sitting in that courtroom, he was kind of just sitting back. And when everyone's head started to pop, he was kind of just looking around like, oh, geez, that sucks. Like, oh, good thing that's not happening to me. I almost got the impression that he just assumed it wasn't going to affect him. Like he just assumed, oh, well, I'm bigger than this, because that's kind of, in my opinion, how he's acted about everything he's encountered, including Stormfront, is that he encounters it with the attitude of, I know I'm bigger than this. I know I'm better than this. I don't have to be worried about this. And so at least to that extent, I think it's very on brand for him. But I do see where you're coming from, where he wouldn't want, or where I'm surprised he didn't want to solve that problem himself, where he saw an issue that big and was literally right in the center of it, and he didn't take it upon himself to try to solve that. That makes me think, was he told, to stand down? Was there some sort of deeper sort of collusion or corruption we haven't seen yet, where he's aware of what's going on and he was told to be present for it, so that he can be kind of along for this journey and knowing what's going on without getting in the way of it. I don't know. It is definitely weird that the main soups for Vought didn't really do anything about that. I think they were kind of positioned in the same spot as everyone else, where it was this terrorist attack that they couldn't identify. And so, it's just that they weren't, that Vought is very specific. You don't do anything that we don't tell you to do. And if Vought's not telling him to go after that, I know he's kind of broken that rule, but there's a chance it just wasn't on his radar because he just didn't think it. He's like, someone else will handle it or something. I don't know. Thomas, do you have any thoughts on that different from mine?
I think he's just a narcissist and kind of in that mode of like, I hope that doesn't happen to me, and then no one can ever take me out. What am I talking about?
Right. Yeah. He's just kind of like, wow, that sucks for all these regular people,
Totally.
Should we be calling Victoria Newman, I don't know, like Scarlet Witch or something?
There is, Thomas, like you and I have talked about what's
let's dive into the season 3 trailer a little bit and talk about
might have a Scarlet Witch to talk about,
or the Crimson Countess.
There it is.
Yeah,
man,
alliteration. Have you seen the trailer, Eve?
Yeah, look, all of this watching was just so I could see the trailer and understand the trailer. I did not watch the trailer before I watched The Boys at all, because I was like, I have to know exactly what transpired before this trailer so I can totally understand it. I'm really glad I did, because I would not have understood anything at all in this trailer if I didn't see it. I think it's an interesting trailer, but I want to hear where you're going. I want to hear what you're going to say.
I mean, it starts out right off the bat with propaganda. You love to see it.
Classic boys style.
Classic boys style, classic real world style. Just pumping out a story there. I fell in love with the wrong woman. Okay there, Mr. Homelander. Sure you did there, Kai. To be fair, once she started talking about like the great white, whatever it was, he started going, don't talk to my son about that. But I think that
was weird. That moment was really weird.
Yeah,
super weird.
Was
the Great White Genocide, and even when Homelander looks at you like that, programs are fucking rockers. And at least Homelander has a sense of that. At least he has a sense of like, I'm sorry, a white genocide? Like, come again? What did you just say to my boy?
Aren't we the best?
Yeah.
Isn't that what that was his face?
Point?
Sometimes I read it like, don't talk to my son like that. And other times like, wait, aren't we the best already? You told me we were the best, Stormfront. I'm supposed to believe you.
Oh, wow.
That's Homelander in my head for some reason.
Homelander sounds very different in your head.
Yeah, well, he's out there drinking milk and licking stuff. So we're
gonna he's milking cows in this season 3 trailer.
Yeah, man, that was a weird looking cow too.
It was a weird looking cow. Hey, maybe it was. No, I'm not gonna go there. Never mind. I was gonna say maybe it was a shapeshifter again, but he did. I know that Ethan loved that scene in season 2.
That was wild, bro.
So wild. Season 3, Billy is taking Compound V. There's a 24-hour Compound V. Maybe Huey even takes this 24-hour Compound V.
We'll definitely see Huey take it.
Yeah.
We also get a lot of people saying that Homelander is off his fucking rocker. He's losing it entirely, and he's absolutely going mad.
Oh, he has something wrong. We've known he's had something wrong for a while.
Oh,
now we're gonna see why.
Now he's just not hiding it anymore, I think, is the issue. And where things are going. And he's rallying up people through his meme squad that he probably got from Stormfront. Probably in a position to take Vought down. Meanwhile, no idea what's happening with the boys. They're all trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And then it seems as though Maeve introduces us to the idea of getting Soldier Boy back. Insert in intro Jensen Ackles.
Nice.
As Soldier Boy. And that's where the trailer goes. Is Soldier Boy a good guy? Is Soldier Boy a bad guy? Is he even a boy?
Ethan,
or is he a man?
One of the main reasons I wanted to talk to you about this season 3 trailer is because of Jensen Ackles' Soldier Boy.
Okay.
This is the boys' version of the Winter Soldier, it seems like, and I need to figure out. I need to figure out what they're doing, because every shot we saw of him in this trailer, he's doing something else that's completely wild and completely against what the last shot of him was showing. So. Right off the bat, these vibes that Soldier Boy is giving off, do you like him? Do you not like him? Do you think he's going to be a problem, or are you going to enjoy him?
Dude, I think he's John Walker. Honestly, I think he's the U.S. agent. Like, exactly
Thomas.
that entire scene that he's taking his shield and just fucking ramming it down this guy's neck. It was like,
right,
that's
exactly.
That's it. That's what Disney Plus wanted to do, but they couldn't do it because they're Disney.
John Walker walked, so Jensen Ackles' Soldier Boy could run. Absolutely.
Exactly. I think he's going to be a really interesting character, and Stormfront worked really well for season 2. The introduction of a new character, and then she's still hanging around possibly. So sometimes I get a little bit worried about like pumping in a brand new character to keep the storyline alive. But I have faith because it worked with Storm, and we know that it can work. His character looks really like Two-Faced to me. He looks like he could play both sides of the table, which is something we have not had yet. We have not seen really anybody be able to play with the boys and with Vought. Billy Butcher is going to be our closest, but he has a strong allegiance to the boys, right? He's never going to be kind of swooned by Vought. So I think this could be someone like that. And I love the brief footage that we got of him. I think he looks cool.
Yeah. I like what you're saying there. We really haven't seen anyone that's tried to take Vought on in that respect. Even Stormfront had her loyalties. This guy could be the one that's, greater than everything. He's kind of out in his own atmosphere, and, he's got affiliations with Vought. He's got affiliations with the boys. We're going to see Billy Butcher dabbling in some Compound V, even though the effects are temporary. Who do you think is going to be tempting him into that? He's saying finally the stakes are finally he's leveled the playing field or something, right?
It's Mallory, man.
Right? Yeah.
Well,
so do you think do you think Mallory's going to play a role in how we come across Soldier Boy? Do you think she's going to be? Do you think this is because of Soldier Boy, or what? Why is Billy doing this?
Like Thomas and I are on very different wavelengths here.
That's a great question. Is he taking these because of Soldier Boy? Or is this after trying to kill Homelander still?
Right.
It's important to note that Soldier Boy isn't just this Captain America beat everybody. He shoots fire out of his chest.
Right. He's got some sort of power set similar to like Havoc from the
Burned
X-Men.
a church. We're gonna call it a church for propaganda's sake. He burned down a church. So of course Billy Butcher's gonna snort some Compound V and eat some A-Train or whatever and go take out Fire Chest Soldier Boy.
Yeah, that's gonna be pretty nuts. I don't know what to expect from Billy Butcher's temporary suit powers. That's gonna be pretty wild. I mean, he seems like he adapted to it very well. And he seems like and he seems to be enjoying it too. Not enjoying the killing, but definitely enjoying the fact that he's able to finally make that difference where he can see it, because one of Billy's main gripes is that, it's all this work and we're barely making a dent, or all this for nothing, it's all falling apart, or all this for what, and now he's finally able to go on a rampage and do some damage. And I think that's where we're going to see Billy, dig his heels in, is that he's finally making that change that he's been desperately looking to find for so many years now. I'm so interested to see if Soldier Boy is going to get in the way of that, or if he's going to help him achieve that, because they're not even giving us an indication of what side he's going to be playing on. I think it's really cool to be adding another player that could truly go, down any avenue.
Absolutely. Let's go around the horn. One thing you want to see happen this season.
Can I say two things?
Yeah, you know what,
yeah,
Ethan?
why don't
you say two things and then I won't say anything?
No, you say lots. Number one, I want to see Frenchie survive. Okay, I had to get in a Frenchie thing because in the trailer he looks to be chained up and bleeding and shirtless and not in a very good situation altogether. So I want to see my boy Frenchie pull through. Sorry, I have three things I want to see. Number two, I want to hear more Billy Joel. That's
Billy Joel.
I am exactly like Huey. That's my guy. That's my artist all the time, like just constantly. So more Billy Joel.
Nice.
And the fact that they can start an episode with a Billy Joel song was just immaculate cinema making to me. That was good stuff. Season 3, ultimately the real thing that I do want to see is I want to see Butcher start to be swayed and bought by Vought. I want to see him start to lose his allegiance to the boys, and I want to see things get really dirty and compromised, right? Because we've been leading to that for 2 seasons now, how corrupt everything truly is. Every man has a price, and now that Becca is dead, where does his allegiance lie other than to, again, seek out vengeance on Homelander? I feel like with Compound V, if Giancarlo Esposito's character, Stan, if he can somehow get him access to Special Compound V and start to sway him and buy him and do things like that, I think the show could get really, really interesting and really, really tearing us between two sides and really working that morality, flexing that morality muscle of where's the line? Where's the line for Butcher? How much is too much? And where do you sell your soul? That's what I want to see this season.
Wow. Love that. Love it. The one thing that I think I want to see this season is a big, I guess I have 2 things as well. I want to see a big brute fight. Ethan, I know you just got through the 2nd season, but now that you're through that, I have a recommendation for you, and it's the animated series called The Boys Diabolical on Amazon Prime. It is essentially the Star Wars visions of the Boys universe. Nice. Every episode is a different animation style. It's a different director. There's an episode directed by Awkwafina. There's an episode, there's a ton of names in here, and it really widens your gaze on this universe that they've built But the reason I bring that up is they start introducing like these bigger like tanks, like these big guys, you know, that are like the brute strong guys, like Mr. Incredible or like the Hulk, you know. I think we need a little bit of that. I think we need some heavy hitting. So I'm really hoping the boys can give us a bigger character to get behind in the 3rd season. And then my second part is Black Noir. He's really kind of been on the back burner, not so much as a character as a whole, but like in terms of like development and background. We don't know anything about this guy still. And I think that if once we learn more about him, he can really shine and be more of that threat that they've been building him up to be. And that dude's intimidating as hell. And if we learned a little bit more about where he's coming from and what drives him, I think it could go a long way for the character. So yeah, big brute fights and more Black Noir will be mine.
Okay. All right.
Thomas, that's it. You're done. You got nothing.
You guys took a lot of good ones. You know what I'm saying? I want Starlight and Huey to end up together. I guess I'll keep it outside the box, but inside the storyline. Are they? Good. Who knows?
Looking
with
better.
The head popper around.
That's true.
All right, they took down Pop Claw, and now Head Popper takes him. It's poetic.
Oh, man, what's the big death of season 3, though? Right? You have to have one of the boys die. You have to. You cannot continue without having a substantial traumatic loss for the boys.
Oh man, but what if
someone's got to go? It's fucking not Frenchie. Don't even say it, dude.
Like, you also have
Frenchie, or it's Mother's Milk. Mother's got Milk. A family.
They're showing Mother's Milk's daughter for the first time. I think that's a big deal.
Is that Thomas, a flashback potentially after he dies? Okay, anyway. Go ahead.
Yeah, man, that scene alone I can't wait to see, because he's got people dressed up as like Homelander and Starlight at that party, and he knows how corrupt and terrible those heroes are, but he has to put on the show for his kids. Oh man, that the layers that's going to be throughout that entire episode, man. I'm here for it. They have built this up for a reason, and now they get to play with everything they've already situated for us. I'm really excited for them to take this and run.
They're going to take it and they're going to run, and we have run out of things to say and talk about, which means we are jumping to the closing of the show. Ethan, where can everyone find you on social media as well as your podcasts?
Yeah, I am on Twitter and TikTok at Ethan Simmie, Simmie. My podcast, 15 Minutes of Marvel, you can find it wherever you get your podcasts, at 15 Minute Marvel on Twitter as well. New episodes every Wednesday and Friday, 15 to 20 minutes, tackling the latest and the greatest in the MCU, keeping you up to date on news and live reactions and all kinds of fun stuff. And then my other podcast, 24 Minutes of A24, comes out every Thursday. Same deal, wherever podcasts are, at 24 Minutes of A24 on Twitter. My co-host Ben and I, we pick an A24 movie. We talk about it. Things get really weird usually because it's A24, and it's a really good time. And we try to keep it to 24 minutes, and we never can because they're pretty wild, good movies. But yeah, so many places to find me. Thank you guys for allowing me to come on this pod and talk about the boys and Thor. This has been a blast, guys. I appreciate it.
That's awesome. Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having us. And as we let you go, I know you only got a couple minutes left here. There's one question I forgot to ask you, and I just saw your answer in our show notes, so now I have to ask it.
Damn it!
If you were a soup in the boys, what would your super name be, and what would your superpower be?
Look, the only reason I put this on the notes is because I saw the question on the notes, and I was like, look, I can't be the guest that says I don't know. That's not very cool.
That's why I put it there, because I wanted an answer. I was not going to let you go through this and say, oh, I don't know. So let's hear it.
All right, I wrote down, I'm just going to be honest, man. I wrote down breaker. I'm going to break bones when I want to by looking at people. Sure, it won't kill people, but boy, is it really painful. And man, it's going to put you out. It's going to put you down. And it would be kind of fun to like look at somebody and snap their femur and just see people collapse to the ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we should have opened with this so you could hear what kind of guy we got on our show this week. But
yeah,
man, breaker, bones are breaking. Thomas, do you have a soup name or a soup power that you would choose?
I don't know if you
get. I don't think you get to choose, but teleportation would be yours.
I just want to teleport. Honestly, I don't want to have to wait in line. I don't want to have to drive for gas. I just want to be able to pop in and pop out.
Nice. That'd be.
You can call me Traveling Jesus, I guess.
Traveling. It's funny to say that. Yeah, mine's related to travel too. I think mine would be something like road rage, and I'd have this power where I could like just make people's tires pop if they cut me off or something. But that's awesome. Yeah,
that's good stuff.
Thank you so much again for joining us so we could talk about
you kill people.
That's way better than breaking bones, dude. You're taking that full retribution. That's good stuff.
What a balance we have here. You know, he's like, oh, I'll do a little bit of gray stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'll just pop around and help people. And you're like, I'm going to kill everyone by road rage.
Listen, there are heroes and
in
villains.
the force.
Not every soup that Vought makes is a superhero. Some of them turn out a little bit worse off. But with that said, Ethan Simmie of 15 Minutes of Marvel, thank you again for joining us, man. It is such a pleasure and honor to always get to talk everything Marvel with you. And now even further, we get to talk about The Boys, something outside of both our realms. So yeah, man, season 3 is coming up. We're going to be watching it together. Guys, watch along with us and hop down in the comments during future shows to let us know your thoughts. And we'll keep the conversation for The Boys going. But again, Ethan, thank you so much. Anything else you want to get out to the fans? Anything else you want to say about either The Boys, Thor: Love and Thunder, anything else coming up that you want to promote?
Nah, man. Go see some movies. Go support your local movie theaters if you feel safe. If you feel like you can do so, and yeah, you know, I think respect everybody's movie opinion. That's what I want to leave you with here tonight. Everybody can either like or dislike a movie, and it's totally okay. Whether it's The Boys, Thor, or anything in between. Thank you so much for having me on the pod, guys. I can't wait, and I hopefully I'll talk to you guys soon about season 3 of The Boys, if you'll have me, because I would love to.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's going to be a talking point for us for sure, and you will be a staple in that conversation, my friend.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming on, Ethan. Love you, brother.
Love you guys.
See ya. All righty.
All right. Let's close this out. Where can everyone find you on social media?
Well, as always, I am JRB_direct on Twitter and Instagram. Follow me or just talk to me on there, and we'll have a good time. Hop in the Direct's Discord server. I'll tweet the link out to that again. I haven't been in there too much lately, but with all this new Marvel and Star Wars content coming out, you know I'll be in there talking everything that is the latest. Thomas, where can everyone find you?
Linktree.com/TCRochesterACT, TCRochesterACT. That's also my Twitter. That's where I've been posting sometimes funny jokes, mostly Star Wars jokes as of late. I also just put the illest squad of Star Wars people together using just the letters of my name. It would win every battle. You can also find us at LTA Podcasting, and all of the links that's on Twitter. All of our links, of course, is linktree.com/LightsThunderAction. All this Kenobi and Star Wars talk real quick. Check out Reckless Rebellion. We put out 4 episodes last week, book club special on Padme, a Kenobi primer, Kenobi Part 1, and a Kenobi Part 2 review featuring our own Ethan Simmie, who was just on the show. We are deep in the wars, and coming up this week, we're going to be diving even deeper into the wars. Check it out. We have all the Star Wars Celebration news coming up later this week. My recommendation for the audience is the same as yours, JRB. Chip and Dale.
Yeah, man, that was actually yours to me. And yeah, you texted me yesterday and had me watch it. I threw it on my fiance, and I loved it. That one is fun for all ages. That was a great film.
Absolutely. I can't even sell this to you other than it's like if Space Jam, you took some of the ideas of Space Jam, made them really good, and mixed it with Who Framed Roger Rabbit and updated everything with modern graphics. And then you just get a story that is so damn meta, it hurts.
Yeah, they don't make films like this anymore.
They really don't. I love it.
It's one for the ages. It's a lot of fun. Chip and Dale on Disney Plus, Rescue Rangers. Check it out.
You'll learn some stuff. But ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary individuals, we've reached the end of the show. As always, there could be no show without the Iron Man variant to my left, world-famous journalist. Actually, I think he's to my right. John Ross Bradford, bringing a much-needed eloquence, wit, and knowing which direction is which. Thank you to Terry McIver and David Thompson for their work behind the scenes. Thank you to the HWWS WebTV family for supporting us and carrying us on the network. Most importantly, thank you to our fans that follow us and join us weekly, whether you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or listening via Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, or Spotify. We appreciate you spending your time with us.
Yes, we do. Please like, follow, subscribe, drop us a comment, leave us a review, give us 5 stars. If, of course, you feel we are worthy.
Worthy. As always, I'm TCR.
And I'm JRB.
This has been episode 87 of LTA. We'll see you next time. Ciao.